In occupied France, a British spy's life depended on a cup of tea. If it was perfect, he was safe. If it was bitter, the Gestapo was in the room, waiting for him. But what happened when the perfect cup was the deadliest signal of all? August 14th, 1943, 1,200 feet above a darkened field near Chartres, occupied France. The floor of the Halifax bomber is slick with oil and something else, something that might just be fear. The air is a thick, cold soup of engine fumes and sweat. Major Arthur Kendall feels the vibration not in his ears, but in his teeth, a deep, rattling thrum that has been his only companion for the last 3 hours. He is a ghost, a man suspended between two worlds. Behind him lies the relative safety of England, of RAF Tempsford, of briefing rooms and lukewarm tea. Below him lies everything else. He is number one in the stick. His eyes, now accustomed to the gloom, trace the static line of the man behind him, then his own. He slaps the clip on his harness. Secure. He adjusts the heavy canvas pack strapped to his leg. Inside, explosives, a radio set, and a small, lead-wrapped box of 32 ACP rounds. Tucked into his jump smock is a Webley revolver. Strapped to his thigh, the unfamiliar, cold bulk of a new 32 caliber Welrod pistol, a silenced weapon that feels more like an assassin's tool than a soldier's. Sewn into the collar of his tunic, a single, small, rubber-coated pill, the final option. His codename is Apostle. His mission: rendezvous with the Vercingetorix resistance circuit, coordinate a series of railway sabotages, and confirm the location of a new Gestapo regional headquarters. Simple, on paper. Impossible, in reality. The RAF dispatcher, a young man whose face Kendall never clearly saw, leans forward. His voice is barely a whisper over the engine's roar. 5 minutes, sir. Kendall nods. He doesn't look at the other men. They are just shapes in the dark, each lost in his own private Gethsemane. He thinks of the briefing, the maps, the aerial photographs, the faces of the men he's supposed to trust, men he has never met. And he thinks of the signal. It wasn't a complex code. It wasn't a phrase or a counterphrase. It was, impossibly, a cup of tea. His primary contact, a local farmer codenamed Ploughman, would provide the all clear. The final briefing officer, a prim man with a thin moustache back in London, had explained it with chilling simplicity. When you arrive at the safe house, Ploughman's wife, Jeanne, will offer you refreshment. You must accept. If the tea is perfecthot, strong, sweet, plenty of milk, then the house is safe. The circuit is secure. You may proceed. Kendall had frowned. And if it isn't? The officer didn't blink. If the tea is weak, or cold, or bitter, if it is in any way bad, the house is compromised. The Germans are present. They are waiting for you. The signal means, run, or you are dead. A man's life, a mission's success, balanced on the pallet of a French housewife. The red light above the hatch snaps on. Red on. The dispatcher's voice is louder now. Urgent. The men shuffle, a clumsy caterpillar of canvas and steel. Kendall moves into position, planting his boots on the edge of the abyss. The cold night air rips at his face, stinging his eyes. Action stations! He grips the sides of the hatch. Below, the French countryside is a lightless void. No, not lightless. He sees it. 3 quick flashes, in an L shape. The reception committee. They're there. The light turns green. Green on! Go! 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 The dispatcher slams Kendall's shoulder. He doesn't jump. He falls, pushed from the relative warmth of the fuselage into the screaming 120 mile-per-hour slipstream. The air punches him in the chest, a violent, chaotic tumble, and then, crack, the static line snaps taut. His harness bites into his shoulders, and the world is suddenly, terrifyingly silent. The roar of the Halifax is already fading, a distant anger moving west. All he can hear is the wind whistling through his rigging lines and the frantic, animal beat of his own heart. He looks up. The canopy is a perfect, dark flower against the stars. He is descending. He fumbles for the toggles, trying to steer, trying to spot the signal flashes again. The ground rushes up far faster than he expected. He sees the dark line of a hedgerow, the pale ribbon of a dirt road. He pulls his knees to his chest, bracing for impact. He hits the earth with a grunt, a jarring, painful crash that sends a white-hot spike of agony up his left ankle. He rolls, fighting the instinct to cry out, desperately pulling at the silk to collapse the canopy before it drags him or marks him as a target. He is exposed, a shadow on a moonlit field. He fumbles for the knife on his hip, sawing at the harness straps. Every sound the rip of the canvas, the rustle of the wheat, his own ragged breathing sounds like a cannon shot in the stillness. Silence. He freezes. He hears it. A click. A metallic, deliberate sound. The unmistakable snick of a bolt being drawn back. He rips the well rod from its holster. It feels heavy, useless. A voice, low and tense, cuts the darkness. French. The poet has no ink. Kendall's heart hammers. He stays low, aiming the pistol at the sound. This is it. The challenge. His throat is dry. He forces the words out, the second half of the code. But his pen is full of stars. A pause that stretches for an eternity. A dark shape rises from the wheat, not 10 yards away. It's a woman, holding a Sten gun leveled at his chest. She lowers it, slowly. "You're late, Major," she whispers. "And you land like a sack of potatoes." She steps forward. She can't be more than 20. Her face is pale in the starlight. This is Sophie, his guide. "My ankle," Kendall grunts, pulling himself to his feet. The pain is sharp, but he can stand. "The container?" "Landed in the next field. We'll get it. First, we get you to the farm. The Boches patrol this road at 0300. We have 20 minutes. She helps him bury his parachute, their hands working fast in the damp earth. Then, they move. Kendall tries to hide his limp, but the woman sees it. She doesn't slow down. They move through hedgerows, across a stream, the cold water shocking his injured leg. After what feels like a lifetime, they stop at the edge of a small wood. Ahead, nestled in a shallow dip, is the objective. A stone farmhouse. A thin curl of smoke rises from its chimney, invisible against the night sky, but he can smell the wood smoke. It looks peaceful, asleep. It's the most dangerous place on earth. Sophie puts a hand on his arm. "We go to the back. Do not speak. Plowman is waiting. He is nervous. The Gestapo were in the village yesterday. They took the baker." Kendall just nods. His mouth is dust. The pain in his ankle is a dull throb, but the adrenaline is a fire in his veins. They cross the yard, past a sleeping dog that doesn't stir. Sophie taps 3 times on the thick wooden door. A rhythmic tap, tap, tap. A bolt is drawn inside. The door cracks open, spilling a sliver of warm, yellow light. A man's face, etched with fear, peers out. "Plowman." He nods, pulling them inside, and bolts the door behind them. The kitchen is warm. A woman, Jeanne, stands by a massive black wood stove, her hands twisted in her apron. She doesn't look at Kendall. She looks at her husband. "He is here," Plowman states. Jeanne nods, her face impassive. She turns to the stove, picks up a kettle, and moves toward a small table. On it sits a single, chipped porcelain cup and a matching saucer. Kendall's heart stops. The pain in his ankle vanishes. All the training, the jump, the midnight trek, it all evaporates. This is the only moment that matters. He watches as Jeanne pours the steaming water over the dark leaves in the cup. The aroma fills the small kitchen. She reaches for a tin of sugar, a small jug of milk. She stirs it, the tink, tink, tink of the spoon against the porcelain echoing the frantic beat in his chest. She picks up the cup. Her hand is steady. She turns, walks the 3 steps to where he stands, and holds it out to him. Her eyes meet his for the first time. They are dark, unreadable. "Welcome to France, monsieur," she says. Kendall takes the cup. It's hot, the warmth seeping into his cold, trembling fingers. He lifts it. He takes a sip. He tastes it. First, the heat. It's almost scalding, a welcome shock that chases the damp night from his bones. Then, the flavour. It isn't the thin, reused, watery swill he'd been drinking in England for 3 years. This is strong, a robust, malty Assam, impossibly acquired, so dark it's almost coffee, and it's sweet, not just a little sugar, but sweet. A defiant, luxurious sweetness that speaks of a well-guarded stash, a king's ransom in occupied France. Finally, the milk. Not a drop, not a splash, but a perfect, creamy measure that turns the brew a beautiful, opaque copper. It is, in a word, perfect. It's the best cup of tea he has had since 1939. It is the all clear. The relief that floods his system is so powerful, it almost buckles his knees. The adrenaline that held his ankle pain at bay recedes, and the throb returns with a vengeance. But it doesn't matter. He's alive. He's not walking into a trap. He lowers the cup slightly, his eyes still locked with Jeanne's. He takes another, longer sip, savouring it. He gives her a small, almost imperceptible nod. "Thank you, madame." It is exceptional. The tension in the room doesn't break. It transforms. The woman, Jeanne, who had been a statue of domestic fear, suddenly becomes razor-sharp. Her eyes lose their blankness and are replaced by a piercing intelligence. "You are hurt," she says. It's not a question. Ploughman Etienne moves. The fearful farmer vanishes. In his place is a man of quiet, coiled authority. He gestures to the solid wooden table. "Sit, Sophie, the water from the stove. Jeanne, the box." Kendall moves to the chair, the well rod still heavy in his hand. He carefully places it on the table, next to the teacup, a strange, surreal still life. He unlaces his jump boot, his fingers clumsy. As he pulls it off, a wave of nausea hits him as he sees the dark, angry swelling already ballooning over the bone. Sophie, the young woman from the field, is already there with a bowl of steaming water and clean rags. She works without a word, her movements economical and practiced. She is not a guide, she is a medic. Etienne sits opposite Kendall. He leans forward, his rough farmer's hands flat on the table. He is not a man who fidgets. "London said you were bringing a radio," Etienne says, his voice low. "I am," Kendall replies, gritting his teeth as Sophie probes the ankle. "It's in the container, with the explosives for the rail yard at Saint-Hélier." Etienne shakes his head. "The rail yard is a problem for another day." Kendall looks up, sharply. "My orders are explicit. We are to disrupt the 12th Panzer's movements. The junction at Saint-Hélier is vital." "Your orders are 3 days old," Etienne counters, his voice like gravel. "And the man who gave them to you is sitting in a warm office in Whitehall. I am sitting here. The baker in the village, Pierre, the one Sophie told you about? He was not just taken. He was taken by the Gestapo. Jeanne, who is now binding Kendall's ankle with a tight, clean bandage, pauses. Her hands are steady, but her knuckles are white. They did not take him to the local commandantur, Etienne continues, his eyes boring into Kendall. They took him to the Château de Voisin, the old manor. It has been empty for a year. 2 days ago, it became the new regional headquarters for the Sicherheitsdienst, the SD. Kendall feels a cold dread that has nothing to do with his ankle. This was the target London wanted him to confirm. He was supposed to spend a week gathering intelligence. They brought in a new commander. From Lyon, Etienne says, and for the first time, Kendall hears a tremor of true hatred in the man's voice. A Sturmbannführer. He is not a soldier. He is a butcher. Pierre was our contact for the railway. He knew the timetables. He knew everything. And he talked? Kendall asks, already knowing the answer. He held out for 2 days, Sophie says quietly, her eyes on the bandage. He was a brave man, but they have specialists. The new commander brought his own team. So the rail network is compromised, Kendall says, his mind racing, processing the new reality. The mission is blown before it's even begun. The region is compromised, Major, Etienne corrects him. The Gestapo are hunting. They are not the usual garrison troops. They are smart, and they are brutal. They are sweeping the area. Your arrival, it is a miracle they did not see the drop. Kendall leans back, the perfect tea suddenly tasting bitter. The signal, the intricate, subtle signal of the tea was a paradox. It meant the house was safe, that this cell was secure, but it didn't mean the mission was possible. It just meant he hadn't died. Yet. The signal, Kendall says, looking at Jeanne. The tea. How did you know? Jeanne finally speaks, her voice soft but firm. My cousin works at the chateau, as a laundress. She saw them arrive. She saw the black cars, the new antennas. She sent her son, on his bicycle, with a message. A message? 2 words, Etienne says. He rode 20 kilometers. No milk. He arrived an hour before you. If he had been caught, if he had been a minute later, your tea would have been very different, Major. And your reception, too. Kendall stares into the empty cup. No milk. A signal within a signal. The absence of an ingredient. The difference between a welcome and a bullet. So, what is the new objective? Kendall asks. Etienne leans in, and the kitchen seems to shrink. The rail yard is useless if we are all dead. That radio you brought, it is our only weapon. You want me to transmit? Kendall is stunned. A transmission from this house? They'll have a direction-finding team on us in minutes. It's suicide. It is. Etienne agrees, nodding slowly. Which is why you will not transmit from this house. But you will transmit. You will tell London what is happening here. You will tell them about the Chateau de Voisin. And you will tell them the name of the man who runs it. Etienne pauses, letting the weight of the moment settle. His name is SS-Sturmbannführer Dieter Kroll. They call him the Butcher of Lyon. And he is now 5 kilometers from where you sit. Sturmbannführer Dieter Kroll, the Butcher of Lyon. Kendall had heard the name. Whispers in London, fragments from decrypted signals. A man who specialized in breaking resistance networks, not with blunt force, but with surgical, agonizing precision. And he was now, effectively, Kendall's new neighbor. Kendall's mind, trained for sabotage, struggles to pivot. My mission was to destroy a rail junction, Etienne. Not to hunt a Gestapo chief. My orders— Your orders are worthless. Etienne cuts him off, his voice flat. London is fighting a war on a map. We are fighting a war in this kitchen. That Butcher has been here for 48 hours. He has already taken Pierre. Who is next? Sophie? Me? My wife. He gestures to Jeanne, who is now methodically wiping down the table, erasing any trace of their meeting, even the ring of moisture from Kendall's cup. This is the new mission, Major, Etienne says. The radio you brought, it's not for trains, it's for him. You will tell London. You will tell them the name. You will tell them the location. And you will ask them to send the RAF. You will ask them to level that chateau. The audacity of it is breathtaking. Not a subtle sabotage, but a full-blown air raid, called in by a single agent. And how do you propose I do that? Kendall counters, the pain in his ankle making him irritable. The radio is in a field, 2 kilometers away, in a 40-pound steel container, with the explosives. And in case you hadn't noticed, I'm not going for a run. He pushes the chair back, trying to stand, a surge of defiant pride. He puts weight on the bad ankle, and a white-hot spike of agony shoots up his leg. He sags, catching himself on the table, the perfect teacup, rattling in its saucer. Sophie, who had been packing a canvas bag, is at his side in an instant, pushing him back into the chair. You are a saboteur, Major, but today you are a signalman, and a signalman with a broken leg is no use to anyone. She is right, Etienne says, pulling a well-oiled Sten gun from beneath a loose floorboard. Sophie and I will retrieve the container. We know the fields. We know the patrols. You? Kendall asks, incredulous. You're a farmer. She's the one who got you here, Sophie finishes, strapping a knife to her forearm. I have killed more Germans than you have had hot meals, Major. We will get your radio. The dynamic in the room has inverted. He is the officer, the trained professional, but he is now the liability. He is the package. They are the operators. He hates it. But he knows they're right. He looks at Jeanne, who is watching him with an unsettling calm. Your signal, madame, Kendall says, his voice quiet. The tea. It was perfect. As it should be, she replies, not a flicker of emotion in her eyes. But what if he has to know, the counterfactual, the other side of the razor's edge? What if your cousin's son had been caught? What if the message hadn't arrived? What would my bad cup of tea have been? Jeanne stops wiping the table. She turns, her hands still. The kitchen is utterly silent. "You are a guest, monsieur," she says, her voice low and terribly precise. "I would still have offered you refreshment. But the pot, it would have been cold. The water, from the rain barrel, it tastes of rust. And the tea leaves, old, from yesterday." She takes a step closer. "It would have been undrinkable. A bad cup. You would have taken one sip, and you would have known. And the Germans?" Kendall whispers. "Oh, they would have been here," she says, as if discussing the weather. "Etienne would have been at the table. Yes, but he would not have met your eyes. He would have been quiet, too quiet, and there would have been another man, in a poor, dark suit, sitting in the shadow by the fire. A cousin from Amiens, we would have said. A man with very clean hands, and shoes that were too good for a farmer. She is looking straight at him, and his eyes, they would have never, ever left you. You would have sipped your muddy tea. You would have felt his gaze. And in that second, you would have had to decide, try to shoot us all, or simply wait to be taken." She smiles, a terrible, thin-lipped expression. "It is an impossible choice, no? Life or death, decided by a cup of tea. It is very French." A chill runs down Kendall's spine that has nothing to do with the night air. He finally understands. This isn't a game of codes and ciphers. This is a war of domestic, intimate, brutal simplicity. Etienne shoulders his Sten gun. Sophie checks the magazine on her own. "We leave now," Etienne says. "The Boucher patrol passes the road at 0300. We will be back before 0400. Or, we will not be back." "The radio," Kendall says, forcing his voice into a command. "The frequency crystals are taped inside the lid. Don't lose them. The code book is in my breast pocket. Don't let them take you alive. And Etienne, be careful." Etienne just nods. "You, Major, you rest. You will need your strength. When we return, you have 1 hour. 1 hour to set up, transmit, and tell London to burn that chateau to the ground. And then, we run." They unbolt the back door. A sliver of cold, damp night air cuts into the warm kitchen. They don't look back. They are just gone, swallowed by the darkness. Kendall is left alone in the kitchen with Jeanne. The ticking of the clock sounds like a hammer. The pain in his ankle is a dull fire. And for the first time since landing, he is truly, profoundly afraid. He is now a man waiting for a radio, a man whose life depends on the silence of the night, and a man who has just been given a death sentence for a monster, if only he can live long enough to deliver it. Kendall is alone with the woman who holds the farm together. Jeanne. She moves with a quiet, unnerving economy. She has taken the used Tikoufi's cup of life and washed it, dried it, and put it back on its shelf. She is, in effect, erasing him, erasing the event. If the Gestapo were to burst in now, it would just be a farmer's wife, awake too early, stoking the fire. He is a major in the British Army, an expert in demolition and clandestine operations. And he has never felt so useless. He sits at the table, his bandaged foot propped on the stool. His well rod is on his lap. He's checked it twice. 3 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. It's a quiet weapon, but it's not a weapon for a firefight. It's a weapon for ending a problem, up close. He feels horribly undergunned. He looks at the clock. 3, 5, the patrol. Etienne had said 0300, which means Sophie and Etienne are out there, at the same time as the Germans. "Your husband," Kendall begins, his voice sounding too loud in the stillness. "He is a brave man." Jeanne is at the sink, her back to him, scrubbing a pot that already looks clean. Her arms move in a fierce, circular rhythm. "Bravery is a luxury, Major," she replies, her voice tight. "My husband is a practical man. He knows what Kroll did in Lyon. He knows what he will do here. He knows that if that Butcher is allowed to set up his office, this entire region will be hollowed out in a month. He is not being brave. He is being a farmer. He is removing a pest from his land." She turns, and her dark eyes fix him. "You are the tool he has chosen. The poison. That is all." Kendall feels the rebuke like a slap. And you, madame? What are you? She dries her hands on her apron, a slow, deliberate motion. I am the one who listens. I am the one who knows the sound of the Kommandantur's Mercedes and the sound of the Gestapo's Adler. I know the sound of the delivery truck that brings our bread, and the sound of the truck the cousin from Amiens would have used to take you away. She gestures to the window, still covered by its thick blackout curtain. I can tell you, right now, that there is a motorcycle 2 kilometers away, on the D9 road, heading east. It is a Zundap. It is going too fast, which means the rider is an orderly, not a patrol. He is late. He will not stop. Kendall listens. He hears nothing but the clock. And then, a faint, insect-like brr, gone. He stares at her. She is not just a housewife. She is the farm's radar. The perfect cup of tea wasn't a one-time signal. Her entire existence is the signal. She is the living, breathing sensor for the Vercingetorix circuit. The clock ticks. 3:15. The patrol should have passed. Sophie and Etienne should be back. They are late, Kendall says, stating the obvious. They are, she agrees, and for the first time, her composure cracks. Her hand goes to her throat, a brief, involuntary motion. The silence stretches, taut and thin. It's no longer a quiet kitchen. It's a trap, waiting to be sprung. Every minute that passes is another grain of sand in the wrong side of the hourglass. 3:20. If they are not back, Kendall begins, pushing himself up, testing his weight on the bad ankle. The pain is still a sharp, bright stab. I have to. You will do nothing, Jeanne snaps, her voice like a whip. You will sit, you will wait. If they are caught, this farm is compromised. The Botches will be here by dawn. Your only duty is to not be here when they arrive. There is a root cellar under the barn. I will show you. She is already writing them off. She is moving to the next contingency. And then, a sound. It's not the Zundap. It's not a truck. It's a dog. A single sharp bark from the farm next door, 1/2 kilometer away. Jeanne freezes. Her head cocks to the side. What? Kendall whispers, his hand tightening on the well rod. That is Monsieur Pagnol's dog. He barks at strangers. He does not bark at patrols. He knows them. He barks at movement in the fields. She looks at the back door. Her face is pale. 3:22. A noise. A scratching at the back door. Frantic. Not the tap-tap, tap of the code. Just a desperate, clumsy scrape of metal on wood. Kendall is up, ignoring the pain. He shoves the chair back and levels the well rod at the door, his two-handed grip steady. The long, silenced barrel points directly at the wooden panel. Jeanne doesn't scream. She moves to the stove, her hand closing around a heavy cast-iron poker. She stands on the other side of the door, her back to the wall, raising the poker like a club. They are a desperate, 2-person reception committee. The bolt on the door rattles from the outside. Someone is fumbling with it. But, no, the bolt is on the inside. Someone is hitting the door, a voice choked. Jeanne, ouvrez-moi. Open. It's Sophie. Jeanne lunge, dropping the poker, her hands fumbling with the heavy iron bolt. She throws it back. The door bursts open. Sophie falls into the room, half carrying, half dragging the heavy, steel-green signals container. She collapses onto the floor, gasping for air, clutching her side. Etienne is right behind her. He stumbles in, spins, and slams the door shut, ramming the bolt home with a thud that shakes the wall. He leans against the door, his chest heaving. His Sten gun is gone. His face is a mask of mud and blood, a long, deep gash running from his temple to his jaw. He looks at Kendall, his eyes wild in the lamplight. The patrol. He pants, spitting a wad of bloody saliva onto the stone floor. It was not a patrol. He slides down the door, leaving a smear of blood. It was a trap. They were waiting for us. At the container. They knew. For a second, nobody moves. The clock on the mantelpiece ticks. 3:23. Etienne's words hang in the air. A death sentence for them all. They knew. Pierre, Kendall says. It's not a question. The baker, the man who held out for 2 days, he had finally broken, And he hadn't just given them the rail yard. He had given them everything. The Vercingetorix circuit, the drop zone, the signals. The perfect cup of tea Kendall drank wasn't a signal of safety. It was a signal of ignorance. It meant Jeanne and Etienne didn't know they were already ghosts. Jeanne is the first to move. She doesn't go to her husband. She drops to her knees beside Sophie, ripping open the young woman's canvas jacket. Sophie cries out, a sharp, choked gasp. It's not a graze. A Mauser round has torn through the flesh of her side, just above the hip. It's messy, bleeding heavily, but it looks like it missed the vital organs. They had dogs. Etienne pants, struggling to his feet. He leans against the wall, leaving a bloody handprint. We got the box. They let us. They let us retrieve it. And then, the flare. An MG 34 inches, the hedgerow. They were waiting for us to lead them here. To you. He lost his sten, dragging Sophie into a ditch, returning fire with just a pistol until they could break contact in the dark. Kendall feels the floor drop out from under him. The Germans aren't hunting them. They are herding them. They are letting the wounded rabbits run back to the warren, so they can destroy the nest. And then, confirming his worst fear, comes the sound. A deep, baying bark. Farther away than Pagnol's dog, but closer than it was. A disciplined, hunting sound. A German shepherd. Jeanne's head snaps up. Her face is a mask of white, cold terror. They are on the blood trail. They will be here in 15 minutes. 10, if they run. The mission is over. Survival is the only thing left. The radio, Kendall says, his voice a low growl. He shoves the pain in his ankle deep down into a box. He's not a liability. He's the only one who can finish this. He lurches to the steel-green container, his hands tearing at the latches. He flips the lid. Inside, packed in black, shock-absorbent rubber, is the B-2 suitcase radio. It's beautiful. Complete. He rips out the handset, the Morse key, the spool of antenna wire. I have to transmit, he says, his hands flying, connecting the battery pack. I have to tell London. Kroll, the chateau. Here, Etienne says, incredulous. You transmit from this kitchen, and their direction-finding trucks will have this farm pinpointed in 2 minutes. You won't finish the message before the first mortar round lands. We have to go, Sophie gasps, pushing Jeanne's hands away and trying to sit up, her face pale with shock. The church, the bell tower, Saint Elie. It's stone, thick walls. High up, a good signal. 500 meters, Etienne adds, nodding, his mind catching up. Through the woods. I can't run, Kendall states, looking at his useless, swollen ankle. I will carry the radio, Etienne says, grabbing the 32-pound suitcase. You will carry the code book, Sophie. I can walk, she lies, gritting her teeth. She stumbles to her feet, pulling her own pistol from its holster. I can cover the rear. They are insane. A man with a head wound carrying a heavy radio. A man who can't walk, supposed to operate it. And a woman who is bleeding out, supposed to fight. They will be at the door, Major, Etienne says, his voice desperate. We have no choice. Go, Jeanne says. They all stop. She is standing by the stove, her hands very still. She is not coming. Jeanne. Etienne takes a step toward her. Come with us. We go to the cellar. They have dogs. Mon amour, she says, her voice impossibly calm. They will find the cellar in a second. They will find us. But, if they find me, just me. Kendall suddenly understands. The horror of it hits him. She's going to delay them, he says, his voice hoarse. Jeanne turns to the stove. She picks up the kettle. It's still warm from his tea. She moves to the sink and begins to pump water into it. The squeak, squeak, squeak of the pump handle is the loudest sound in the world. Jeanne, no, Etienne whispers, dropping the radio. They will come to the door, she says, not looking at him. Her voice is a monotone, a woman reciting a recipe. They will knock. I will wait. I will make them wait. I will be the frightened farmer's wife. They will shout, and then I will open. They will be angry. They will push me. She places the kettle on the stove, but not on the hot part. She puts it on the cold edge. I will be terrified. I will not understand their German. They will demand to know where the terrorists are. I will cry. And then, I will offer them a drink. She looks at Kendall. Her eyes are dark, bottomless pits. A bad cup of tea, Major. It will be cold. It will be weak. It will be rusty water. And it will take me a very, very long time to make it. She is weaponizing her signal. She is going to give them the "Germans are here" signal to their faces. She is going to use her domesticity, her terror, as a shield to buy them minutes. I can't let you, Etienne says, moving to grab her. Go. She screams, a sudden, violent roar that shocks them all. She snatches his bloody, discarded Sten gun from the floor. You have a mission. I have mine. You tell London. You tell them to burn Kroll. You tell them what he cost us. Maintenant. Go. She shoves Etienne toward the door. He looks at her, his face a mask of agony. There is no time for goodbyes. There is no time for anything. Etienne rips the door open. Sophie stumbles out into the darkness. Kendall follows, his arm slung over Etienne's shoulder. Etienne, carrying the radio in one hand and Kendall in the other, plunges into the night. Kendall looks back, just once. He sees Jeanne standing in the warm, yellow light of the kitchen. She has bolted the door behind them. She is turning back to the stove. She is straightening her apron. She is waiting for the knock. The night swallows them. The 500 meters to the church is not a sprint. It is a slow-motion, agonizing crawl. Etienne is a bull. He has Kendall's arm locked over his neck, half carrying the British officer, while his other hand grips the 32-pound radio, banging it against trees, against his own leg. Every step is a grunt. Blood from his head wound mixes with sweat, stinging his eyes. Kendall is trying to hop, trying to move, but his good leg sinks into the mud, and his injured ankle screams in protest every time it brushes a root. He is dead weight. He is a failure, a man being carried from a fight. Behind them, Sophie is falling. She stumbles, catches herself on a tree, and pushes on, her hand clamped to her side. She is leaving a trail. A clear, wet, crimson trail for the dogs to follow. They're closing. Kendall gasps, his ear to the wind. The barking is no longer a distant threat. It's a clear, hungry, individual sound. Woof, woof, baroom. They are not just on the trail. They are on them. Faster, Etienne. I am trying, Major. Etienne snarls, his voice cracking under the strain. They are perhaps 200 meters from the farm, deep in the darkest part of the wood, when the sound from behind them changes. A new sound. Shouted commands. German, raus, schnell. And then, a sound that freezes Kendall's blood. A heavy crash, wood splintering. The sound of the farmhouse door being kicked off its hinges. Etienne stops. He sags, his whole body tensing. He is listening, his head turned back toward the home he will never see again. Etienne, move, Kendall commands, shaking him. Shh, Etienne whispers, his eyes wide. They hear it, shouting, distant but clear. Wo ist er? Whoa! And then, a single, muffled, flat bang. Not a rifle. A pistol. A Walther, perhaps. Silence. The dogs stop barking. The shouting stops. The woods are utterly, terribly silent for 3 heartbeats. Jeanne, Etienne, makes a sound. A low, animal noise. A sound of such profound, hollow grief that Kendall will hear it in his nightmares for the rest of his life. The farmer's shoulders heave. He has just heard his wife's execution. He has just paid the price for their mission. Etienne, Kendall says, his voice now like steel. He grabs the man's face, forcing him to look at him. Do not let it be for nothing. Do not let her die for nothing. Move. Move. The grief in Etienne's eyes turns to a cold, black, murderous rage. He doesn't say a word. He turns and plunges forward, dragging Kendall with a new, savage strength. The dogs are barking again, louder, closer. The woods, too slow. Sophie pants from behind them. The road, edge of the square, faster. It's a gamble. The open road is faster, but it's suicide if a patrol is near. Do it, Kendall orders. They burst from the tree line, stumbling onto the pale, moonlit gravel of the village's main square. It's empty. A ghost town. On the far side, silhouetted against the stars, is the church of Saint-Élie. Its stone steeple is a finger pointing to heaven. They cross the square. A race between three broken people and a pack of dogs. Kendall's boots scrape and thud on the cobblestones. The sound is horrifyingly loud. B-A-R-K, B-A-R-K, B-A-R-K. The hounds burst from the woods behind them, a dark, fast-moving mass. They are in the square, 50 meters, 40. Sophie stops. She turns, her back to the church door. She levels her pistol with a shaking hand. Go, get in, get up the tower. I'll buy you the tea. Sophie, no. Etienne yells, fumbling with the heavy iron-ringed latch of the church door. It's a bad cup, Major, she shouts, a bloody, defiant grin on her face. She fires. Pop. A dog yelps. She fires again. Pop. The Germans are right behind the dogs, running, shouting. Etienne yanks the door open. The church is a vast, cold cavern of incense and stone. In. He shoves Kendall through the dark opening. The stairs, to the right. Kendall falls, scrambles to his feet, and finds the door to the belfry. It's a narrow, stone spiral staircase. He begins to haul himself up, using his arms, his elbows, his one good leg, dragging the useless one behind him. Etienne is right behind him, pushing him, the radio case scraping against the stone. Outside, they hear Sophie fire twice more. Pop, pop. Then, a different sound. The rapid, tearing brrr of an MP-40 submachine gun. A short, 3-second burst that echoes off the stone houses of the square. And then, silence. Etienne stops, his head bowed, one step below Kendall. He has just lost the last member of his cell. He is alone. They're inside the church, Kendall whispers, his voice raw. He can hear the heavy thud of boots on the main floor below. Shouts. Die, Trepper. The stairs. Etienne's rage ignites. He surges up the last few steps, shoving Kendall out into the belfry. They are at the top. It's an open platform. The huge bronze bell silent above them. The night air whistles through the stone arches. They are 100 feet up, exposed. The radio. Kendall screams, tearing it from Etienne's hand. He throws it open. Battery. Handset. He grabs the spool of antenna wire. The antenna. Get it up, as high as you can. He hands the spool to Etienne. Etienne, without a word, grabs the wire and begins to climb the wooden scaffolding of the bell itself. A dark spider ascending into the rafters. Kendall snaps the Morse key into its port. He pulls the codebook from his pocket. His hands are slick with sweat and Etienne's blood. He finds the frequency. He twists the dial. He pulls the headphones on, the cold metal biting his ears. Static. Etienne! He yells. It's up! Etienne yells back, from somewhere in the dark above. Kendall can hear them. The thud, thud, thud of German boots on the spiral stone stairs. They are coming. They are halfway up. He puts his fingers on the key. He has 1 minute, maybe less. He begins to tap. A desperate, frantic staccato. DOT, DOT, DOT. DOT, 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 DOT. DOT, DOT. He is calling London. He is calling for fire. He is calling for vengeance. For Jeanne. For Sophie. For Pierre. He is a dead man. In a stone tower. With the hounds at the door. Dot, dash, dot, dot. And he has no idea if anyone is listening. The wind howls through the stone arches. A high-pitched, grieving sound. Kendall's fingers are a white-knuckled blur on the Morse key. The static in his headphones is a roaring storm. He is no longer a man. He is a machine, a conduit for a single, vital message. He is translating the cost of the night, the blood, the farm, the lives into a string of electric pulses. He isn't sending words. He is sending a target. Kroll, Kroll, Kroll. Thud, thud, thud. The boots are at the top of the stairs, just below the wooden trapdoor. A guttural shout, muffled by the stone. Higher! Open! Etienne drops from the bell scaffold, landing silently on the stone floor. He pulls his pistola battered M1910 Browning. He has 3 rounds left. He doesn't stand in the middle. He stands against the wall, next to the opening, using the thick stone as cover. He is a wall. Kendall's mind is racing, calculating. He is living on borrowed time. Jeanne bought us 5 minutes with her life. Sophie bought us 30 seconds. He is spending their final moments. He cannot waste a single one. He taps faster. Priority. Apostle. Target. The trapdoor at the top of the stairs explodes open, kicked by a heavy boot. The grey-green helmet of a Wehrmacht soldier appears. He is holding an MP40. Crack! Etienne fires. The sound is a physical blow in the small space, a deafening explosion that rings the bell above them. The German soldier is punched backward, a gurgling scream as he tumbles down the stone shaft, a cascade of falling metal and a clattering rifle. Zweite! Granate! Wurf! Ein Granate! A voice screams from below. Etienne, no! Kendall yells, his focus shattering for a second. Etienne doesn't back away. He lunges, standing over the hole, firing down into the darkness. Crack! Crack! He's empty. He throws the useless hot pistol down the stairs, roaring in French. A small, black object, a steel hand granate, flies up from the hole. It clatters onto the stone floor, tink, 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 and rolls. Etienne doesn't hesitate. He doesn't look at Kendall. He roars a sound of pure, final rage and dives onto the grenade, his body a shield. Kendall sees it all in a fraction of a second. He sees Etienne's back arch. He sees the man's face turn toward the farm. He sees the final, impossible sacrifice. He turns back to the key. He doesn't stop tapping. Chateau. D. Voisins. Air. Strike. Now. The explosion is a white-hot flash, a concussive yump that throws Kendall sideways. The radio is ripped from the table. The belfry is a cloud of smoke and stinging stone dust. Pain. His left side is on fire. Shrapnel. His ears are ringing, a high-pitched whine that drowns the static. He is on the floor. The message isn't finished. It isn't confirmed. They won't know. They won't believe it. He sees them. 2, 3 grey uniforms pouring from the trapdoor, their MP40 seconds levelled, their faces grim in the smoke. They are shouting, but he can't hear them. He sees Etienne, a torn, broken shape by the stairs. He sees the radio. It's on its side, but the green battery light is still on. He lunge, crawling, dragging his useless leg, his bleeding side. His fingers find the key. The Germans are raising their weapons, confused by the smoke, by this one, crawling, bleeding man. He has 1 second. He has to send the confirmation, the most important part, the part that says it's real. He doesn't tap the code. He doesn't send a letter. He just holds the key down. Beep, 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 beep. A long, solid 10-second dash. The desperation. Signal. This is not a drill. This is real. I am being overrun. Signal. A scream of pure electronic data. A German officer is in front of him. A clean uniform. A Luger pistol in his hand. He is not shouting. He is looking at Kendall with a kind of cold curiosity. He aims the Luger at Kendall's head. Kendall looks up. He doesn't see the German. He sees a chipped porcelain cup. He smells the rich, strong aroma of sweet, milky tea. The signal for all clear. The signal that was, from the very beginning, a lie. The only true signal was the one he just sent. Paid for. In full. The officer's finger tightens on the trigger. An RAFY station. Kent, England. 2 minutes later, a young WAF operator pulls her headphones off, her face pale. She hands a slip of paper to her superior. "It's Apostle, sir," she says, her voice trembling. He was in the middle of the authentication code. Then, just this. The officer looks at the paper. It's a string of coordinates, a name Crowland, a single, long line drawn by the operator's pencil, indicating the final, desperate transmission. He picks up the red telephone. "Get me the AOC 2 group. Now, we have a priority 1 flash. Target, Chateau de Voisin.